The scent of stale coffee and ambition hung heavy in Alex's small, meticulously organized apartment. Mornings were a ritual, a quiet contemplation of the day ahead, a silent steeling of resolve against the invisible currents that constantly tugged at their professional and personal life. Alex possessed a mind like a finely tuned instrument, capable of intricate problem-solving and creative solutions. Yet their talents often felt like a whisper in a world that demanded a shout. Despite an unwavering dedication to every task, a relentless pursuit of excellence, and an innate kindness that drew others to them, Alex found themselves perpetually navigating the murky waters of underestimation. The shadow looming largest in these waters was Eleanor, Alex's moon. Eleanor was a woman sculpted from sharp angles and even sharper ambition. Her presence, a constant, subtle chill. She moved through life with the confidence of someone who believed the world owed her deference, and her disdain for Alex was a thinly veiled secret, a quiet hum beneath every forced smile and polite inquiry. To Eleanor, Alex was an anomaly, a misstep in her meticulously planned family tapestry. She saw not potential, but an obstacle, not a partner for her child, but an impediment to their perceived grander destiny. Her judgments, though rarely explicit, were woven into the fabric of every interaction. Family dinners, meant to be gatherings of warmth and connection, often transformed into subtle battlegrounds. Alex would recount a small professional victory, a project completed ahead of schedule, a client satisfied, only for Eleanor to interject with a dismissive wave of her perfectly manicured hand. "Oh, that's nice, dear," she'd coo, her tone dripping with saccharine condescension. "But is it really moving the needle?" I remember when Marcus Adista, remarkably successful cousin, closed that multi-million-dollar deal. Now, that asterisk was an achievement. The words were light, almost conversational, yet they landed with the precision of a well-aimed dart, leaving Alex feeling diminished. Their achievements. Alex's partner, caught in the crossfire, often tried to mediate, to deflect Eleanor's barbs, but the damage was often already done. Alex, ever the diplomat, would force a smile, a nod, and retreat into the quiet corners of their mind, where the sting of Eleanor's words festered. It wasn't just the overt put-downs. It was the microaggressions, the questions about Alex's background that implied inadequacy, the constant comparisons to others deemed more suitable, more successful, more everything. Eleanor had a knack for making Alex feel like an imposter, a temporary fixture in a world Alex didn't truly belong to. This unseen struggle wore Alex down, slowly, insidiously. It wasn't just the emotional toll. It began to seep into Alex's self-perception. Despite tangible successes, the constant erosion chipped away at Alex's confidence. Very witty. Nights spent staring at the ceiling, replaying conversations, dissecting every glance, every inflection, searching for a flaw within themselves that justified Eleanor's relentless disapproval. Was she right? Was Alex truly not good enough? The thought was a poison, insidious and debilitating. Yet, beneath the wariness, a stubborn ember of resilience glowed. Alex refused to be defined by Eleanor's narrow vision. There was a quiet strength, a deep-seated belief in their own capabilities that refused to be extinguished. Every morning, as the city outside began its cacophony, Alex would remind themselves of their purpose, their worth, and the undeniable truth of their own talents. The desire for a stable, fulfilling life, a life free from Eleanor's condescension, burned brighter than any doubt. It was a yearning for recognition, yes, but more importantly, a yearning for peace, a peace that felt perpetually out of reach, perpetually undermined by the woman who should have been family, but chose instead to be a tormentor. The battle, though silent, was relentless, and Alex, though weary, was not yet broken. The job market had been a merciless gauntlet, each rejection email a tiny shard of glass in an already bruised spirit. Months had passed since Alex had first embarked on the daunting quest for a new, more promising role, a position that would truly leverage their skills and provide the stability so desperately sought. Countless hours were spent meticulously crafting cover, letters, tailoring resumes, and enduring the sterile, often demoralizing, dance of interviews, the weight of expectation, both internal and external, pressed down. Amplified by the silent judgment Alex imagined emanating from Eleanor's perfectly appointed home. Each no felt like a vindication of Eleanor's thinly veiled contempt, a confirmation that Alex was, indeed, not quite enough. Then, a lifeline. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, unassuming in its subject line, yet carrying the weight of a turning tide. It was an invitation for a final interview at Viridian Dynamics, a name synonymous with innovation and corporate excellence. Viridian wasn't just a reputable company, it was a titan, a beacon in its industry, a place where careers were forged and futures secured. Alex remembered the initial application, a shot in the dark, almost a dare to themselves. Given the company's formidable reputation, the interview process had been rigorous, demanding, pushing Alex to demonstrate not just technical proficiency, but also strategic thinking, emotional intelligence, and an unwavering commitment to quality. Alex walked into the final interview with a nod of anxiety and a flicker of defiant hope. The glass-walled conference room overlooked a bustling cityscape, a panorama of opportunity. The hiring manager, a sharp, astute woman named Ms. Harding, listened intently, her gaze piercing yet fair. Alex spoke with a clarity and passion that transcended the usual corporate jargon, detailing past successes, outlining innovative ideas for future projects, and subtly weaving in the personal drive that had sustained them through the lean times. It was an interview where Alex felt truly seen, truly heard, their capabilities acknowledged and appreciated. When Ms. Harding smiled, a genuine, warm expression, and extended her hand, Alex knew, with a surge of relief and elation, that the tide had turned. "Welcome to Viridian, Alex," Ms. Harding had said, her voice firm and confident. "We're excited to have you." The offer was more than just a job. It was a validation, a fresh start, a tangible opportunity to prove their worth, not just to the world, but to themselves. The salary was excellent, the benefits comprehensive, and the role itself, a senior project lead, was exactly the kind of challenging, impactful position Alex had yearned for. For the first time in a long time, Alex felt the lightness of genuine optimism, a bubbling excitement for the future. News of Alex's success, however, reached Eleanor with the speed of a well-tossed stone skipping across still water. At the next family dinner, the forced cheer of the occasion felt particularly strained. Alex, still buzzing with quiet pride, announced the new role, trying to maintain a humble demeanor. A hush fell over the table, quickly broken by a chorus of congratulations from other family members. Genuinely happy for Alex, but Eleanor's reaction was a study in controlled disapproval. Her eyes, usually sharp and critical, narrowed almost imperceptibly as she took a slow sip of her wine. "Viridian Dynamics, you say?" Her tone was carefully neutral, yet the underlying current of skepticism was palpable. "My, that's quite the jump, isn't it, dear?" "I always thought their corporate culture was a bit intense for someone with your particular background." She paused, a small, knowing smile playing on her lips. "I do hope you're up to the challenge. It's a very demanding environment. Not for the faint of heart or for those who prefer a more relaxed pace." The words were a cascade of backhanded compliments and thinly veiled insults. They weren't direct attacks, but insidious suggestions that Alex was somehow not quite intelligent enough, or perhaps too fragile for such a prestigious role. She spoke of Viridian as if she knew its inner workings intimately, subtly implying that Alex was stepping into a world far beyond their grasp. She then pivoted, seamlessly, to a story about a distant acquaintance who had flamed out spectacularly at a similar high-pressure firm, a thinly disguised cautionary tale aimed squarely at Alex. Alex felt the familiar sting, the unwelcome chill of Eleanor's disapproval, attempting to dampen the flame of their joy. But this time, it was different. The elation of the new job, the validation from Ms. Harding, fortified Alex against the usual erosion of confidence. A quiet determination settled in. Eleanor's words, instead of diminishing, fueled a renewed resolve. Alex would not just succeed at Viridian, they would thrive. This wasn't just a job, it was a declaration that Alex was capable, resilient, and utterly worthy of success, despite Eleanor's relentless efforts to suggest otherwise. The new path beckoned, and Alex stepped onto it, eyes fixed firmly on the horizon, leaving Eleanor's acidic remarks to dissolve into the background noise of their past. Alex's initial weeks at Viridian Dynamics were a whirlwind of invigorating challenges and promising connections. The company's vibrant atmosphere, a stark contrast to the stifling air of Eleanor's disapproval, energized Alex. Projects were stimulating, colleagues were bright and collaborative, and Ms. Harding, Alex's direct manager, proved to be an inspiring mentor. Alex quickly found their stride, excelling in a complex data analytics project that earned early praise and established a reputation for diligent work and insightful contributions. The future felt boundless, a wide-open vista of professional growth and personal fulfillment. Then, the first subtle tremors began. It started innocuously enough, a crucial email containing revised specifications for a project Alex was leading somehow went unread in Alex's inbox until the 11th hour, causing a minor but noticeable delay. Alex attributed it to a spam filter, a simple oversight. Then, a file on a shared drive, vital for a team presentation, appeared to have been subtly corrupted, forcing Alex to scramble for a backup. Again, Alex dismissed it as a technical glitch, an unfortunate coincidence. The incidents were minor, easily explained away, but they created a faint, unsettling hum beneath the surface of Alex's otherwise smooth progress. It wasn't long before Alex discovered the source of the low-frequency interference. Eleanor. Through a casual conversation with a new colleague, Alex learned that Eleanor, in her relentless pursuit of influence, had recently secured a position as a senior consultant for a key strategic partner of Viridian Dynamics. Her role, while external, granted her significant access to Viridian's upper echelons and project pipelines, placing her in a disturbingly close orbit to Alex's professional world. The realization sent a cold shiver down Alex's spine. The unfortunate coincidences suddenly took on a sinister hue. Eleanor's campaign of sabotage was a masterpiece of subtle malice. It wasn't about grand overt acts. It was a slow, insidious erosion. Whispers began to circulate. Alex would overhear snippets of conversation in the break room, hushed tones discussing Alex's alleged lack of attention to detail or unreliability. Information crucial to Alex's projects seems to be consistently delayed or incomplete when it reached Alex's desk, forcing Alex to constantly chase down details, creating an impression of disorganization. Meeting invitations for critical discussions would mysteriously vanish from Alex's calendar, leading to missed opportunities and the perception of being unengaged. One particularly damaging instance involved a quarterly performance review. Alex had meticulously prepared, confident in their achievements. However, during the review, Ms. Harding subtly referenced a miscommunication regarding a key client deliverable, a detail Alex had no recollection of. The miscommunication, Alex later pieced together, originated from Eleanor, who, in her consulting capacity, had subtly and falsely implied to a mutual contact that Alex had agreed to a different, less favorable timeline. It was a small deviation, but enough to cast a shadow of doubt on Alex's otherwise stellar performance. The work environment, once so welcoming, began to feel increasingly hostile. Colleagues, initially friendly, grew guarded. Invitations to informal team lunches dwindled. Alex felt an invisible wall rising, isolating them from the very network they needed to thrive. The stress began to manifest. Physically, restless nights, a constant knot in Alex's stomach, the once enjoyed morning coffee now tasting bitter with anxiety. Alex spent increasing amounts of time double-checking everything, scrutinizing every email, every shared document, every conversation, searching for the hidden trap, the subtle lie. The joy and confidence that had blossomed at Viridian began to wilt under the relentless, unseen assault. Eleanor, meanwhile, moved through the professional circles with an air of impeccable professionalism, Her reputation and her interactions with Alex, when they occurred in the professional sphere, were always cordial, almost saccharine. "Darling, how are you managing with all this pressure?" she'd inquire, her eyes glinting with a malicious satisfaction. "It's such a demanding environment, isn't it? Just try to keep your head above water." Her words, seemingly supportive, were laced with a poisonous undertone, reinforcing the narrative of Alex's inadequacy that she was so carefully weaving. Alex was trapped in a web of interference, its silken threads almost invisible, yet tightening with each passing day, threatening to choke the very life out of their promising career at Viridian Dynamics. The insidious nature of Eleanor's sabotage had begun to take a heavy toll. Alex's once bright demeanor at Viridian Dynamics was fading, replaced by a constant state of hypervigilance and a pervasive sense of dread. The minor glitches had escalated into more significant roadblocks. A critical software patch Alex had meticulously developed was mysteriously delayed in its rollout, causing a ripple effect of technical issues for an entire department. A carefully structured proposal, designed to secure a vital new client, was subtly altered with a glaring factual error just hours before its submission, forcing Alex to pull an all-nighter to correct it, narrowly avoiding disaster but looking frantic and disorganized to the leadership team. Ms. Harding, Alex's manager, while still largely supportive, had begun to show signs of concern. "Alex, are you all right?" she'd asked, her brow furrowed. "Your recent work has been a bit erratic, and I've heard some chatter about you being difficult to reach or missing key details. Is there something going on you'd like to discuss?" The questions, too hintily, felt like accusations, reinforcing the narrative Eleanor was so skillfully crafting. Alex tried to explain, to articulate the feeling of being targeted. But the incidents were so subtle, so easily dismissed as Alex's own fault, that the words felt hollow and paranoid even to their own ears. The emotional distress became unbearable. Alex was losing sleep, losing weight, and losing the joy that had once defined their work. The weight of injustice pressed down, suffocating. One evening, after a particularly frustrating day where a colleague openly questioned Alex's commitment based on a false rumor, Alex decided enough was enough. The quiet suffering had to end. Alex would confront Eleanor directly, not in a professional setting where Eleanor held an advantage, but in the supposed sanctuary of a family gathering. The opportunity arose during a Sunday brunch at Eleanor's sprawling, impeccably decorated home. The atmosphere was, as always, meticulously curated, a facade of familial warmth. After the main meal, as guests mingled and Eleanor held court, Alex cornered her in a quiet alcove, away from the immediate earshot of others. Alex's voice, though low, was laced with a barely contained tremor of frustration and hurt. "Eleanor," Alex began, "we need to talk about what's been happening at Viridian." Eleanor turned, a serene smile plastered on her face, her eyes betraying nothing. "Oh, Alex, darling, what could possibly be so urgent? Enjoy the mimosa. Relax a little. You always seem so stressed at these gatherings." Her dismissive tone immediately set Alex's teeth on edge. "Don't play innocent, Eleanor. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The delayed emails, the corrupted files, the rumors. You're sabotaging me. I know you got that consulting role with Viridian's partner. And ever since, my work life has become a nightmare. Why are you doing this?" The words tumbled out, raw and unfiltered. Eleanor's smile didn't falter, but a coldness entered her eyes. Her voice, though still soft, hardened with an almost theatrical concern. "Sabotage, Alex. My goodness, what an accusation. Are you feeling quite... well, it sounds to me like you're under a great deal of pressure at this new job, perhaps more than you can handle." She leaned in conspiratorially, as if sharing a profound truth. "Viridian is a very demanding place. As I warned you, perhaps you're just not cut out for that level of intensity. It's certainly not for everyone. And to blame me, your own mother-in-law, for your professional difficulties, that's really quite unseemly, don't you think?" she continued, her voice a calm, even weaving a masterful tapestry of gas. Perhaps you're just a little paranoid, dear. Or maybe you're feeling overwhelmed and projecting your own shortcomings onto others. It's a common coping mechanism. You know, when one feels inadequate. I've heard you can be a bit sensitive. She straightened, her gaze unwavering. I'm merely trying to help you, Alex, to ensure you don't overextend yourself. But if you insist on seeing my concern as malice, then I'm afraid there's nothing more I can say. I only wish you well. Truly, perhaps a little time off would do you good. Clear your head. She delivered the final jab with a saccharine sweetness that made Alex's stomach churn. Alex stood there, reeling. The confrontation, instead of bringing clarity or resolution, had only deepened the wound. Eleanor had masterfully deflected every accusation, twisting Alex's genuine distress into a sign of weakness, incompetence, or even mental instability. Alex felt a fresh wave of humiliation wash over them, the air thick with Eleanor's unspoken triumph. The conversation had only served to further isolate Alex, confirming Eleanor's power and Alex's vulnerability. Retreating from the alcove, Alex felt more alone than ever. The weight of the injustice heavier, the path forward shrouded in an even darker despair. The weeks following the disastrous confrontation with Eleanor plunged Alex into a deeper abyss of despair. Eleanor's subtle campaign intensified, morphing from whispers and delays into more overt, yet still deniable, acts of sabotage. Critical reports Alex submitted were mysteriously misplaced or accidentally deleted from shared servers, only to resurface with significant errors attributed to Alex. Key meetings were scheduled without Alex's notification, leading to missed presentations and a growing perception among senior management that Alex was disengaged or unreliable. Each incident chipped away at Alex's professional reputation, transforming them from a promising talent into a liability. Ms. Harding, Alex's manager, became increasingly distant, her earlier concern replaced by a weary resignation. Alex tried to explain, to detail the pattern of events, but without concrete, undeniable proof, the narrative spun by Eleanor was too compelling. Alex's frantic explanations were as easily dismissed as defensive as symptoms of the very incompetence Eleanor had subtly implied. The gaslighting had worked its insidious magic, making Alex appear erratic and untrustworthy. The culmination arrived on a gray Tuesday morning. Alex received an abrupt email, terse and forma, summoning them to a meeting with Ms. Harding and a representative from Human Resources. A cold dread settled in Alex's stomach, a premonition of the inevitable. The walk to the sterile HR conference room felt like a march to execution, each step heavy with the weight of impending doom. Inside, the atmosphere was chillingly professional. Ms. Harding sat with a strained expression, her gaze avoiding Alex's. Across from her, a stern-faced HR manager, Mr. Davies, held a slim folder. There were no pleasantries. Mr. Davies began in a low, even tone, reading from a prepared statement. He spoke of repeated performance issues, failure to meet expectations, disruptive conduct, and a lack of alignment with company values. The words were vague, yet damning, a carefully fabricated narrative designed to justify a predetermined outcome. Alex listened, stunned, as a litany of half-truths and outright fabrications was recited. The misplaced reports were presented as evidence of negligence. The missed meetings were proof of insubordination. The erratic behavior was attributed to Alex's alleged inability to handle pressure. Alex's mind raced, trying to formulate a defense, to point out the inconsistencies, the deliberate nature of these issues. But the words caught in Alex's throat, choked by shock and a profound sense of betrayal. It was clear that Eleanor, leveraging her connections within Viridian's partner network and her insidious whispers to influential figures, had orchestrated this moment with ruthless precision. We understand this news may be difficult, Alex, Mr. Davies concluded, his voice devoid of empathy. However, given the consistent pattern of concerns, the company has made the difficult decision to terminate your employment, effective immediately. He pushed a severance package agreement across the table, along with a termination letter. We'll need you to sign these documents. Your access to company systems will be revoked by the end of the hour. Please gather your personal belongings and report to security on your way out. Alex felt a sudden, sharp pain in their chest, a physical manifestation of heartbreak. The world seemed to tilt. Humiliation washed over them, a burning shame that seared through their very being. All the hard work, the dedication, the sacrifices, the hope for a fresh start, all of it crumbled into dust under the weight of Eleanor's cruel machinations. Alex's attempts to speak, to defend themselves, were met with polite, unyielding finality. The decision has been made. Alex, there's nothing more to discuss. Leaving the building, Alex felt utterly exposed, stripped bare of dignity and purpose. The familiar path out of Viridian dynamics, once walked with a spring in their step, now felt like a walk of shame. Each click of the security turnstile, each glance from a former colleague, was a fresh wound. The bustling city outside, once a symbol of opportunity, now seemed indifferent, mocking. Alex clutched a cardboard box containing the few personal items from their desk, feeling the cold weight of unemployment, the sting of injustice, and the profound, aching emptiness of betrayal by a system that had failed them, and by a family member who had orchestrated their downfall. Alex was jobless, heartbroken, and utterly defeated, staring into a bleak, uncertain future. The world outside Viridian dynamics felt colder, harsher, stripped of the vibrant promise it once held. Alex's days blurred into a monotonous cycle of despair. The initial shock of the dismissal gave way to a profound, soul-crushing sadness. Mornings were the hardest, the silence of the apartment amplifying the weight of Alex's new reality. The vibrant energy that once defined Alex was replaced by a heavy inertia, a constant battle to simply get out of bed. Self-doubt, an insidious whisper that Eleanor had cultivated, now roared in Alex's ears. Was it true? Was Alex truly incompetent, incapable of sustained success? The financial strain was immediate and brutal. Savings dwindled rapidly. Each utility bill and grocery receipt a stark reminder of Alex's precarious situation. The job search, once filled with hope, became an exercise in futility. The termination from Viridian, though vaguely worded, cast a long, dark shadow on Alex's resume. Recruiters, once eager, now offered polite regrets, their voices hinting at unspoken concerns. The rejections piled up, each one reinforcing the narrative of failure that Eleanor had so carefully constructed. Alex felt like a ghost, wandering through a life that no longer belonged to them, a victim of an invisible, yet undeniably powerful, enemy. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Alex retreated further into themselves, finding solace only in the quiet solitude of their apartment. Friends tried to offer support, but Alex, consumed by shame and humiliation, pushed them away. The thought of facing anyone, especially family, was unbearable. The silence was punctuated only by the mournful hum of the refrigerator, and the occasional, jarring notifications from job boards that yielded no fruit. Alex was at rock bottom, stripped of professional identity, financial security, and much of their one dreary afternoon, as Alex listlessly scrolled through old news feeds, a headline caught their eye. It was an article from a prominent business journal, emblazoned with a smiling, confident photos of Eleanor. The accompanying text sang praises of her astute business acumen and strategic vision. Eleanor, it announced, had been appointed to a prestigious, high-profile executive position as the Chief Strategy Officer at EthelCorp, a renowned global conglomerate known for its cutting-edge innovation and formidable market presence. The article detailed her impressive track record and unwavering dedication to excellence, painting a picture of a woman at the absolute pinnacle of her career. The news hit Alex like a physical blow. EthelCorp was not just any company, it was a behemoth, a global powerhouse that dwarfed Viridian dynamics in scope and influence. The irony was a bitter, nauseating taste in Alex's mouth. While Alex was struggling to pay rent, Eleanor was ascending to new, unimaginable heights, basking in the glow of public adoration and corporate power. The article even included a quote from Eleanor, dripping with false humility. I've always believed in hard work and integrity. Success, true success, is built on those foundations, and I'm thrilled to bring that ethos to Ethel Corp. Integrity. Alex scoffed aloud, the sound hollow in the empty room. The audacity, the sheer hypocrisy of her words, ignited a flicker of something long dormant within Alex. Not just bitterness, but a sharp, cutting anger. Eleanor wasn't just succeeding, she was gloating. Her public persona, a cruel mockery of Alex's current plight. The article, meant to celebrate her triumph, felt like a deliberate, personal affront. A final, victorious stab. Yet, beneath the anger, a different emotion began to stir. A tiny, almost imperceptible shift. It wasn't despair, but a spark of morbid curiosity. How had she done it? How had she, a woman of such veiled cruelty, managed to climb so high, so fast? What made Ethel Corp, a company Alex admired from afar, choose her? The questions, once dormant, began to buzz in. Alex's mind, a subtle reawakening. The desire for understanding, for some form of closure, however painful, began to outweigh the crushing weight of apathy. It was a faint, almost imperceptible whisper of a new path. A path born not of hope, but of a burning need to comprehend the injustice that had so profoundly reshaped Alex's life. The news of Eleanor's meteoric rise to Ethel Corp's chief strategy officer position, nor did Alex. It was a festering wound, a stark, painful contrast to Alex's own ignominious fall. The initial wave of bitterness slowly gave way to a more complex emotion, a morbid fascination, a need to understand the architecture of her success, especially when it felt so undeserved. Alex found themselves drawn, almost against their will, to a Ethel Corp's public profile. Late into the nights, fueled by stale coffee and a burning sense of injustice, Alex delved into the company's history, its leadership, its market strategies, consuming every piece of information available on the internet. Alex wasn't looking for a job. The thought was still too painful. Instead, it was a forensic examination, a desperate attempt to find a flaw, a weakness, anything that could explain how a person like Eleanor could ascend to such heights. The company's website was a sleek, impressive portal, showcasing its diverse portfolio, its innovative projects, and its commitment to ethical practices. An ironic juxtaposition with Eleanor's true character. Alex clicked through. Investor relations, reports, annual summaries, and profiles of key executives, trying to piece together the puzzle of this corporate giant. Hours blurred into days, the screen light illuminating Alex's drawn face. The information, while vast, seemed to offer no immediate answers. Then, late one evening, deep in the archives of a decade-old financial report, a name flickered across the screen, almost lost amidst a sea of corporate jargon and historical data. It was an obscure entry, a reference to a significant, early-stage investment that had provided the crucial seed capital for a nascent technology division that eventually became one of Ethel Corp's most profitable ventures. The investor was listed under a trust, an old family trust that Alex immediately recognized. A cold wave of shock, followed by an electrifying jolt of realization, coursed through Alex. The trust was connected to Alex's maternal great-aunt, a reclusive but incredibly shrewd businesswoman who had, decades ago, quietly established several such trusts for various philanthropic and investment purposes, often under strict conditions of anonymity. Alex had been vaguely aware of inheriting a small portion of one of these trusts upon the great-aunt's passing years ago, but the details had been handled by a legal firm, and Alex, focused on forging their own path, had never delved into the specifics. The bulk of the trust's assets had been managed by a separate, highly secretive arm of the family's legal counsel, dedicated to preserving the great-aunt's legacy of quiet influence. The document hinted that this particular trust held a substantial, non-voting equity stake in Ethel Corp, a stake so significant that it granted the trustee, and by extension, the true beneficiary, a powerful, albeit discreet, advisory role within the company's foundational structure. The true beneficiary was Alex. Alex was not merely a distant investor. They were, in effect, A silent, influential figure, a foundational pillar of EthelCorp, whose identity had been meticulously shielded for reasons of privacy and to allow Alex to pursue their own career path. Without the burden or influence of such immense wealth and power, it was the moment, a seismic shift in Alex's reality. The despair that had clung to Alex for months, shattered, replaced by an astonishing surge of adrenaline. The identity secret wasn't a superpower in the comic book sense, but it was a power far more potent in the corporate world. The power of deep-rooted ownership, of quiet influence, of being an almost mythical figure whose existence was acknowledged by only a select few at the very top of EthelCorp. Alex's great aunt, in her wisdom, had ensured that this power would remain dormant, a hidden card, until a specific need arose, or until Alex chose to activate it. Eleanor, in her relentless pursuit of upward mobility, had unwittingly climbed onto a pedestal built by, and ultimately controlled by, the very person she had so cruelly dismissed. The irony was breathtaking, almost cinematic. Alex, the defeated, the humiliated, was in fact a silent titan in the very realm Eleanor now sought to conquer. The bitterness in Alex's heart began to morph into something cold, calculated, and immensely determined. The game wasn't over. It had merely entered a new, far more dangerous phase. Alex was no longer a victim. A new purpose, sharp and clear, ignited within them. Not just revenge, but justice, and the undeniable urge to expose Eleanor for the manipulative fraud she truly was. Before she could do further damage within Alex's own company, the initial shock of Alex's discovery slowly gave way to a potent blend of vindication and strategic clarity. The hidden card, the silent influence within EthelCorp, was a weapon of immense power, and Alex understood that its deployment had to be meticulously planned. This wasn't about a childish tantrum or a spontaneous act of rage. This was about justice, about exposing a manipulator, and, critically, about protecting a company. Unbeknownst to Eleanor, Alex had a profound, foundational connection to the emotional turmoil of the past months solidified into a cold, unwavering resolve. Alex spent days in quiet contemplation, reviewing the implications of this revelation. The Great Aunt's legal team, a discreet and powerful entity, had always been a silent guardian of the trust's assets. Alex reached out to them, a single, carefully worded email, requesting a confidential meeting regarding the EthelCorp holdings. The response was immediate, almost deferential, confirming the gravity of Alex's position. The lawyers, long accustomed to Alex's desire for anonymity, were surprised by the sudden activation of this dormant power, but they understood its potential significance. The primary objective wasn't just to see Eleanor fall. It was to ensure that EthelCorp, a company built on integrity and innovation, was not compromised by her deceitful presence. Alex meticulously began to gather every piece of evidence of Eleanor's manipulative patterns. This involved delving into old emails, recalling specific instances of sabotage at Viridian, and even discreetly reaching out to a few former colleagues who, in hushed tones, had expressed their suspicions about Eleanor's underhanded tactics. The pieces of the puzzle, once disjointed and dismissed, now fit together with chilling precision, painting a clear picture of a serial manipulator. The target was clear: EthelCorp's CEO, Mr. Alistair Bunsey, a man renowned for his sharp intellect, his uncompromising ethical stance, and his fierce loyalty to the company's foundational principles. Alex researched Vance's public persona, his leadership philosophy, and his reputation for cutting through corporate politics with brutal efficiency. Vance valued integrity above all else, and this was the lever Alex would use. The challenge was how to secure a meeting with a man of Vance's stature without prematurely revealing the full extent of Alex's identity. A direct request from Alex, recently fired from Viridian Dynamics, would be instantly dismissed. This required finesse, a strategic unveiling. Alex drafted a series of emails, each one carefully discarded, until the perfect approach emerged. It wouldn't be a demand for an audience, but a subtle, almost academic inquiry. Leveraging the legal team, Alex had a highly discreet, encrypted email sent to Vance's executive assistant. The email, originating from a secure, untraceable server. Reference to confidential matter pertaining to foundational investment structures and strategic integrity within Ethel Corp, suggesting a deep, insider knowledge without explicitly stating Alex's identity. It hinted at critical information that directly impacts the company's reputation and its senior leadership, promising a revelation that was both sensitive and urgent. Attached to the email was a very brief, anonymous summary of Eleanor's professional history, highlighting a pattern of unexplained successes and sudden, disruptive departures of colleagues at previous firms, all presented as objective data rather than accusation. It was a breadcrumb trail designed to pique Vance's curiosity and trigger his innate sense of corporate diligence. The response, though not immediate, was exactly what Alex had hoped for. Vance's office, intrigued by the unusual nature of the inquiry and the veiled reference to foundational structures, scheduled a private, off-site meeting. Alex understood that this was not merely an opportunity for personal vengeance. It was a strategic intervention, a calculated move to protect the company, expose a deceiver, and finally reclaim a professional life that had been so cruelly taken away. Alex meticulously rehearsed the narrative, ensuring that every word would be delivered with calm authority, every piece of evidence presented with irrefutable clarity. The hidden card was about to be played, and the game was irrevocably changed. The meeting was set for a discreet, executive lounge in a high-rise building, far from the bustling offices of Ethel Corp. Alex arrived precisely on time, dressed impeccably, exuding an air of quiet confidence that belied the storm of emotions simmering beneath the surface. The past months of despair, humiliation, and quiet suffering had forged a new Alex Combe, composed and utterly resolute. This was not the Alex who had faltered under Eleanor's gas. This was the Alex who held a hidden, formidable power. Mr. Alistair Vance, Ethel Corp's CEO, was already there, a man whose presence commanded respect. His face, etched with years of high-level decision-making, was initially unreadable, a blend of polite curiosity and a hint of impatience. "Thank you for coming," Vance began, his voice deep and measured. "I confess, your inquiry was unusual. My assistant mentioned foundational investment structures and strategic integrity. Please, enlighten me. Who exactly are you? And what is this about?" Alex met his gaze directly, a small, knowing smile playing on their lips. "Mr. Vance, I appreciate your time. My identity, for now, is less important than the information I bring. Consider me a concerned party with a unique perspective and a vested interest in Ethel Corp's continued success and ethical standing." Alex paused, letting the words hang in the air, allowing Vance to process the implication of a vested interest. Alex began not with accusations, but with a narrative, a carefully constructed story of an individual, talented and dedicated, who found themselves systematically undermined and eventually ousted from a promising role at a reputable company. They spoke of subtle sabotage, of manipulated information, of a carefully crafted campaign of whispers and half-truths that led to an unjust dismissal. Alex described the patterns of behavior without naming Eleanor directly, painting a picture of a master manipulator, a corporate chameleon who left a trail of professional wreckage in her wake. Vance listened intently, his initial skepticism slowly giving way to a furrowed brow of concern. He was a man who understood corporate machinations, and Alex's account, devoid of overt emotionality, resonated with a chilling ring of truth. "This individual you speak of," Vance interjected. "This sounds like a very serious accusation. Do you have any evidence to support these claims?" "Either, Mr. Vance," Alex affirmed, pushing a slim, encrypted tablet across the table, "and not just circumstantial evidence. I have detailed timelines, corroborated incidents, and a pattern of behavior that extends beyond just one company." Alex guided Vance through a presentation, screenshots of altered documents, anonymized email chains showing delayed information, dates of fabricated miscommunications, and carefully documented instances where Alex's work was subtly undermined. It was a meticulous, irrefutable dossier showing Eleanor's modus operandi, with devastating clarity. As Vance absorbed the information, his posture stiffened. The implications were clear. Suche person, if unchecked, could cause immense damage to EthelCorp's reputation and internal dynamics. Then, Alex delivered the final, calculated blow. "Mr. Vance, the architect of this campaign, the individual I've been describing is your newly appointed Chief Strategy Officer, Eleanor Vance." Alex allowed the name to resonate, watching the CEO's face register the shock, the dawning realization. The room fell silent, save for the soft hum of the air conditioning. Vance's eyes, now wide with disbelief and a growing anger, snapped back to Alex. "No, this is a very serious claim, and frankly, a hard one to believe. She came to us with impeccable references, a glowing track record. Who are you to make such an accusation?" Alex took a deep breath, the moment of truth having arrived. "Mr. Vance, my full identity has been intentionally kept private for many years, for reasons of personal and professional integrity. However, given the gravity of this situation and my deep personal connection to EthelCorp, I feel it is now imperative to reveal myself." Alex then unveiled the hidden card, the documentation from the Great Aunt's Trust, the legal papers confirming their identity as the silent, foundational investor, the true beneficiary of the equity stake that gave them a unique, powerful voice within EthelCorp. Vance stared at the documents, his face a mask of profound shock. The name, the trust, the historical weight of it, was undeniable. He finally looked up, his expression a mix of awe, alarm, and a deep, unsettling understanding. You are the asterisk, Alex, the beneficiary of the Alistair Trust. I had heard rumors of a silent partner, a foundational investor whose identity was kept secret, but I never imagined." His voice trailed off, the implications of Alex's presence and Eleanor's actions against them sinking in with devastating force. The man who had dismissed Alex as incompetent had, in fact, been reporting to Alex in a roundabout way for years. Alex concluded, their voice steady. "I bring this information to you not out of malice, but out of a profound concern for the company. Eleanor Vance is a master manipulator. Her presence here is a threat, not just to your employees, but to EthelCorp's very integrity. I have presented the evidence. The rest, Mr. Vance, is in your hands." The meeting ended with Vance visibly shaken, promising an immediate and thorough investigation. The truth, meticulously unveiled, had landed like a thunderclap, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. Eleanor Vance hummed a light tune as she straightened her designer suit jacket, her reflection in the polished elevator doors showing a woman at the zenith of her career. Her first 3 months as Chief Strategy Officer at EthelCorp had been nothing short of triumphant. She had navigated the complex corporate landscape with her usual blend of charm, shrewdness, and subtle manipulation, solidifying her position and earning accolades from her peers. Today, she was scheduled for a private meeting with Mr. Alistair Vance, the CEO himself. Her mind buzzed with anticipation. She fully expected to be presented with a new, even more prominent assignment, perhaps a seat on the executive board, or a special project that would further cement her indispensable. Value. The memory of Alex, fired and forgotten, was a distant, satisfying echo, a footnote in her glorious ascent. She walked into Vance's expansive office, a confident smile on her face. The room, usually bathed in the soft glow of ambition, felt strangely cold. Vance sat behind his imposing desk, his expression grim, his eyes devoid of their usual warmth. Opposite him, in a chair usually reserved for high-level advisors, sat a familiar figure, a figure Eleanor's mind struggled to reconcile. With the setting, it was Alex, calm and composed, watching her with an unnerving, almost serene intensity. The sight sent a jolt of icy dread through Eleanor, her confident smile faltering. "Eleanor, please, have a seat," Vance said, his voice flat, devoid of any pleasantries. He gestured to the empty chair, not looking at her, but at Alex. Eleanor, her heart now thumping erratically, sank into the plush leather, her eyes darting between Vance and Alex, searching for an explanation, for a way to regain control. "Mr. Vance? Alex, what is the meaning of this?" Eleanor forced a nervous laugh. "Is this some kind of welcome committee for my new initiative?" Her voice sounded thin and strained even to her own ears. Vance's gaze finally settled on her, chilling her to the bone. "Eleanor, this is not a welcome committee. This is a reckoning." He paused, his eyes narrowing. "Alex has brought some deeply disturbing information to my attention. Information that pertains directly to your character, your professional conduct, and your relationship with this company." Eleanor's mind raced, desperate to construct a defense, to find a plausible lie. "Information, I assure you, Mr. Vance. My conduct has always been exemplary. Alex is a disgruntled former employee from Viridian, prone to exaggeration. I'm surprised you would entertain such baseless accusations." She tried to dismiss Alex with a wave of her hand, just as she had done countless times before, but her gesture felt weak and unconvincing. "Baseless." Vance's voice grew sharper. "Alex is not merely a disgruntled former employee, Eleanor. Alex is a foundational investor in Ethel Corp, the direct beneficiary of the Alistair Trust, a silent partner whose influence and integrity I value above almost all others." He pushed a stack of meticulously organized documents across the desk towards Eleanor. "These are not baseless accusations. These are detailed reports of your systematic sabotage of Alex' career at Viridian Dynamics, corroborated by forensic evidence. The misplaced emails, the corrupted files, the carefully crafted rumors designed to undermine Alex's reputation, leading to an unjust termination." His voice rose with a controlled fury. "Alex also shared how you gaslighted them, twisted their legitimate concerns into signs of paranoia, and this behavior is unethical. It is malicious, and it is absolutely unacceptable at Ethel Corp." Eleanor stared at the documents, a carefully constructed facade crumbling before her very eyes. The color drained from her face as she saw the familiar details, the undeniable proof of her own venomous handiwork. Her elegant posture slumped. Her jaw went slack. The confident, ambitious woman dissolved into a terrified, cornered animal. She tried to stammer, I don't know what." "This is a misunderstanding. Alex is lying." "Don't insult my intelligence, Eleanor," Vance interjected, his voice like steel. "The evidence is irrefutable, and the fact that you would target someone with Alex's integrity and foundational connection to this company speaks volumes about your own lack thereof. We have no place for such deceit and cruelty here." He leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "Your employment with Ethel Corp is terminated, effective immediately. Your access will be revoked. Security will escort you from the premises. And I assure you, Eleanor, there will be no severance package and no positive references. Your reputation, which you have so meticulously built on lies, is now irrevocably shattered." Eleanor looked from Vance's unforgiving face to Alex's steady, unwavering gaze. There was no triumph in Alex's eyes, only a quiet, profound sense of justice. Eleanor's carefully curated world imploded around her. The power, the status, the respect she had craved so desperately, all of it vanished in an instant, leaving her with nothing but the bitter taste of her own cruelty. "Yes, too." Uniformed security guards quietly entered the office, Eleanor knew, with a chilling certainty that her reign was over. Her walk out of Ethel Corp, head bowed in shame, mirrored Alex's own dismissal. But hers was a fall from a far greater height, magnified by her own hubris and the undeniable weight of her own sins. The profound silence that settled in Mr. Vance's office after Eleanor's ignominious departure was not one of lingering tension, but of a quiet, cleansing peace. Alex felt a weight lift from their shoulders, a burden they hadn't realized they'd been carrying for so long. It wasn't the sweet taste of revenge that filled Alex. It was a deeper, more satisfying sense of vindication. Justice had been served, not through Alex stooping to Eleanor's level, but through integrity, truth, and the quiet power of a meticulously laid plan. The public downfall of Eleanor while dramatic, was merely the external manifestation of Alex reclaiming their own dignity, self-worth, and professional standing. Vance, still reeling from the revelations, looked at Alex with a newfound respect, bordering on all. "Alex," he began, his voice softer now, "I am profoundly sorry for what you endured, and deeply ashamed that someone like Eleanor was allowed to infiltrate our ranks. Your discretion, your strategic thinking in bringing this to light, and your unwavering commitment to the company's integrity are truly exceptional. It takes immense courage to do what you did, especially given the personal cost." He paused, then continued, his eyes gleaming with a new idea. "Ethelcorp needs leadership like yours. Your understanding of our foundational structures, combined with your demonstrated resilience and ethical compass, is invaluable. I would like to formally offer you a position, not just any position, but one that truly reflects your influence and capabilities, perhaps a senior advisor to my office, or even a directorship overseeing strategic initiatives, allowing you to leverage your unique perspective and knowledge. We would, of course, ensure your privacy is respected, should you choose. But your voice here is one we can no longer afford to ignore." Alex listened, a genuine smile finally gracing their lips. The offer was more than a job. It was an acknowledgement, a restoration. It was a chance to rebuild, not from scratch, but from a position of strength and respect that Eleanor could only have dreamed of. Alex considered the proposal carefully. The idea of returning to a corporate environment, especially one as powerful as Ethelcorp, was daunting, but the thought of working alongside Vance, of contributing meaningfully to a company they were already so deeply connected to, was undeniably appealing. It wasn't about proving anything to Eleanor anymore. It was about realizing Alex's own potential, unburdened by her shadow. "Mr. Vance," Alex replied, their voice steady and confident, "I would be honored to accept, but I'd like to discuss the terms of my involvement and perhaps focus on a role that allows me to proactively safeguard the company's ethical framework, ensuring no other Eleanors ever slip through the cracks." The seeds of a brighter future were being sown, not just for Alex, but for Ethelcorp itself. Meanwhile, the fallout for Eleanor was swift and devastating. News of her termination, fueled by discreet leaks from Ethelcorp, spread like wildfire through the industry. Her meticulously crafted professional network, built on superficial charm and calculated favors, collapsed. Doors that had once opened wide now slammed shut. Her reputation was in tatters, her name synonymous with deceit and professional misconduct. The public accolades she had so craved turned into public scorn. Social ostracization followed, as even her most sycophantic acquaintances distanced themselves from her toxic reputation. Eleanor, who had always reveled in being at the top, found herself cast out, facing the inevitable and isolating consequences of a lifetime of cruelty and manipulation. Her ambition, once her greatest asset, had become her undoing. Alex, on the other hand, moved forward with a newfound strength and boundless opportunities. Whether accepting a formal role at Ethelcorp or choosing to leverage their influence and resources in other ventures, Alex's path was now clear. Unencumbered by the past, the journey through despair had forged a stronger, wiser individual. The story was a testament to the enduring power of integrity, the quiet resilience of the human spirit, and the deliciously ironic sense of humor with which karma sometimes delivers its justice. Alex had not merely survived, they had triumphed, proving that true power resided not in intimidation or deceit, but in the unwavering pursuit of truth and the quiet strength of one's own character.